So now my question is about your yogi life, because Gyan we can hear, yogi life we can see and feel. So silence plays an important role in your yogi life. So I'd like to ask you to tell us a little bit about the experience of silence you are having in meditation.
Actually, the experiences of silence is not merely when I am specially in meditation, but in other parts of the day also I experience silence. From the very first day when I came to this institution, it usually was my practice to get up at 2 in the morning, 2 after midnight. I was told in my bhakti days, God is at his best at 2 o'clock. He can give you easily an appointment at that time. So I used to get up at 2 o'clock. It's not that I used to set an alarm, but by o'clock, I just thought that I would get up at this time and I would automatically wake up. And I would experience as if I am with Baba. At that time, naturally, even physically also, there would be no one there. And spiritually also, I would feel that I am with him. There was silence in the atmosphere, in the environment, silence in the room where I was, and silence inside. And when I remembered Baba at that time, I experienced deep silence. Again, when I came to this institution, earlier than that, when I was a school-going child, it usually happened with me that I suddenly went into a kind of a semi-trance, you can say. The environment would disappear from my sight. I would feel that I am in a sea of light, floating in a sea of light. Very deep silence, very deep peace. So at that time, I could not understand what it was due to. So I used to ask my seniors, my elders in Bhakti Marg, what was it? Why it happened? They said maybe that in your past life, you had been doing a lot of bhakti or some kind of meditation.
Yes.
So then also I experienced silence. That is a long story, but just to be short, in order to keep myself confined to the question you have put me, I would say I love silence, and therefore the nature of my work also is that I can perform it better if I am in silence. Because Baba made me an instrument for dissemination of the knowledge. So how can I do it unless and until it is deeply set in my own mind, unless and until I myself realize it. And Baba has blessed me with silence, I should say. I have that kind of experience. So silence played a great role in my life, in my self-transformation, even in my writing work. Earlier, when I wrote the real Gita, and in Hindi it was known as the Sachi Gita, that is out of print. It has been out of print for many years. I am now getting it printed in the near future. So we printed only 2,000 copies at that time, and I think more than 1,000 people came to Gyan. It was because when I was writing, my pen was on the paper. I felt that Baba is doing this, and I was in deep silence. I experienced it. Suppose I am writing about Parandhan, about the soul world, I felt that I am in the soul world. Writing about Shiv Baba, I am experiencing Shiv Baba. So not that I experienced silence only when I was meditating specially, but as I had said earlier, while I was doing my work, the nature of my work being such that I experienced silence. But gradually, I was given some organizational work, administrative work, and there was a lot of turmoil in the earlier days. I had to face the public opposition on behalf of the institution. Some people entered into litigation. I had to go to the court and to attend to such cases and so on. But even then, I am very grateful to Baba because of his blessings. I had that special gift of silence from him.
Because you are also the spokesman of the university.
Baba said it so.
Well, that's what you're doing. So how do you combine speaking and silence? While speaking, how do you keep your mind silent?
I feel as if it is coming, and my mind works very easily. It is not that I have to exert myself much. In order to just turn, for example, to go deeper into one point, it's not that I have to spend hours or that I have to do some labor, some laborious work on my part. As the rain drops from the clouds, the knowledge comes from Baba directly to me. I feel it's coming. Like the milk, it comes from the udders of the cow. It comes to me from Baba. So then also I feel silence.
Some Brahmins, they say that it's very difficult if you have to use your intellect and to be silent and in remembrance at the same time. They say when you are using your hands, it's easy to remember Baba and to be silent, but when you have to think and working on a computer or things like that, they feel it's more difficult.
Intellect and silence are not opponents. They don't have any kind of an enmity between them. They are not at loggerheads with each other. They can go together, provided I feel that this intellect is given by Baba. I surrender myself to him totally. Baba used to call me Ganesh very often, even during the course of the Murli. Those Murlis are not available because you have Murlis only of 6 or 5 years. Earlier on, he used to call, even in the Murlis, Ganesh. And you know, Ganesh, Ganpati, is shown with the head of an elephant. Why? It's symbolic. Because they say that this head of a human being, which he earlier had, that was cut off. And because of some surgery, as God is the greatest surgeon, he could transplant even the head. People have been able to transplant hearts, now perhaps livers, some other things. But God transplanted this head on me, cutting away, removing my human head. So if the intellect comes from him, then I think my intellect, even if it is busy with work, it is with Baba. There is no problem, I feel. But of course, there are some tricky questions in life. Certain moments of irritation, provocation, temptation. When you see a lot of injustice, when you see there is a lot of cruelty, people are so wicked, misbehaving with each others, even among the yogis, the BKs and elsewhere, when you feel that the values are not being properly observed, then perhaps you may have some pinpricks in your life. So at that time it may appear for a while that you are losing your silence. But I personally feel values are not just to be kept in a locker, they are to be used. If I believe in justice, I should see that the justice is done. Not merely I have to speak and lecture on justice or to write about justice, but as a human being, as a BK, as a humble yogi, if I can make some effort to get somebody some justice, to wipe the tears from the face of someone who has been tortured, whom justice has not been done, if I do that, I feel more happy. So on such moments when I feel that the values have been neglected, overthrown, rode roughshod on it by people, then of course I sometimes, maybe for a little while, be losing my silence, inner silence. Outwardly, I have to keep in silence because I am an instrument, I am doing Baba's service. Maybe that people feel that inwardly I have that kind of a wave in my mind. But from reading history extensively and intensively, I know how cruel a man has been to other men. And therefore, I feel if those things continue even today, when God has come and is giving us such a beautiful knowledge, then I think I am called upon to do my duty. Not just to sit tight in my seat and doing nothing. Witness consciousness does not mean that I should, silence does not mean that I am not to speak. Mm-hmm. When you just know the story of Mahabharata, you know when Draupadi, she was being bared, her sari was being taken away from her, and the acharyas, Dronacharya, Bhishma Pitama, the great warriors, those who were considered to be great leaders, very near the throne, they kept silent. Other hours of the time, they were giving instructions to people that they should have courage, this and all that. But when this was practically happening, they kept silent. So I feel they did very wrong. It is a story, symbolical. And I think I should not repeat the same thing. Mm-hmm. If this thing happens, I should jump into the fray and do something if I can do it. And that has helped me a lot because earlier on, in the course of the spread of this institution, there was really a lot of criticism, a lot of opposition, people being very bitterly opposed to the institution. And I had to face them because at that time there were only 5 or 6 brothers, dedicated brothers in this institution when I came. Now some of them are no more, only 3 are alive. So it was for years. It is from 1971 that other brothers dedicated. Before 71 or 69, we were only 5 or 6 at the most. So I had to rush from here to there, from there to there, just to face public opposition. And then I thought, silence to me does not mean that I should do nothing. Mm-hmm. Silence means I should have inward peace, empower myself by being in yoga with God and do something. That is what silence means.
Thank you. You talk a lot about relationships. For many years you do, but I feel the last few years you talk a lot about relationships also between yogis. And yesterday in your class...
Relationship between what?
Yogis. And yesterday in your class you said don't spoil your relationships with each other. In what way are you putting this idea? Because Baba also said in the Murli of the 15th, don't quarrel, stop quarreling. So here we are in this spiritual gathering and we are still quarreling and we are still having negative feelings for one another. What is the future of this?
I think what I mean is that we should observe some grace. There should be some royalty in our manners. We should be dignified in our behavior. We should respect every human individual. Even if somebody is misbehaving with me, insulting me, criticizing me. So when I say that I should not spoil my relations with him, now here is a breaking point. Here the relationship can break. But I feel if I talk to that person in a loving tone and observe my balance of mind, don't lose my temper, and I consider the dignity of that person, he has the freedom to differ from me, and it is up to him how he behaves. So then, if not now, that person will realize later that I have not been bad to him, that I have been nice to that person. So that relationship will not have some kind of a breach, some kind of a gulf. That relationship can be easily restored. And even on other times, suppose I am staying with somebody, working together with some other people, then when I say that I should not spoil my relationships. Maybe some people, because of certain reasons, have tension in their life. They shout, they talk very loudly. Unexpectedly, they are very rough in their manners. I should understand there is some reason. Today it seems to me that they are a little disturbed. I shouldn't mind it, you see. I should be nice to them, smile at them, try to help them out of the situation. So I should try to adjust. That's what I mean to say. That is what to me means not spoiling the relationship.
Are you always able to do that?
Pardon?
Are you yourself always able to do that?
Not always, I would say. Otherwise I would go to Paramdham by now. But you know, I am here on the stage in Gyan Sarovar. To an extent, to a great extent, I should say. I am surrounded on all sides by people who are very strange, very rough, not to my liking. I am in the thick of the battle, I tell you. Just to be plain and frank, I differ a lot from other people in many ways. In their mannerism, their etiquettes, their way of behaving, their being over-ambitious and many other things. They seem to be very pushing, very smart and so on. So I have to bear with them. So that is what I mean by not spoiling the relationship. That even when all these things happen, as a yogi, as a jnani, I am supposed to maintain my calm, my balance, my peace of mind, not to lose it. That's what I mean. And to a great extent, that is what has given me maturity. I am successful. Even on behalf of the institution, when we want to go to meet some government officials, they have heard some wrong things about the institution. Sometimes they speak very badly. We have to bear with them, you see. So you have to change them by your own self-transformation and by your own waves and vibrations of peace. You have to give them peace of mind. That is what you have to do. So to that extent, I think I am successful. Otherwise, I passed through certain situations when I was just on the point of being killed. Sometimes the opposition was so harsh, so violent. People were ready to put me to death by means of daggers, you see, mobs of them. If I had just lost my balance, spoken even a word which was wrong at that time, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Then again I would be in some other form, you see. But just at that time, to hold myself, hold my tongue, you see, to be quiet, to look into their eyes. He is a soul, she is a soul, child of God. God is the giver of peace. I must give this person peace. He is losing the peace. All these things, all this knowledge helped me solve that situation.
So you also talk about controlling power.
Talked about?
Controlling power, to know when to stop, when to speak, when to be silent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you will be ready by next week? Baba gave us 15 days.
And when also, you see, not only not to speak and to stop and all that, but also when to speak. That also is essential. In matters of administration, if you keep silent, you don't speak, it doesn't work. Sometimes you have to speak.
Balance.
To certain people who do certain very wrong things again and again repeatedly, you have to speak. So that also is a controlling power. Controlling power does not only mean not to speak, you see, or to speak with restraint or so on. That of course is there. But at the same time, to speak effectively. So that if you want to communicate to somebody, it should hit somebody's mind. It should have the proper effect. Somebody should get the message, what you mean. What you say is what you mean. They should understand. Politely, in a dignified manner, sweet manner, loving manner, but in a strong voice. I mean, is using those words where they understand. Today, Jagdish Bhai seems to be serious. This is something what he is saying from his deep heart. You are saying that I joke, I smile, and all that. I do that, no doubt. But sometimes I have to speak, you see. If I am a spokesman, I have also to speak.
So Baba gave us 15 days till the next meeting in order to be self-rulers.
And now many days have already passed.
Yeah, there's only 1 week to go. So
Yet it is not too late, you see.
we
It's
still
not
have
too late.
7 days. Okay.
Still, those efforts can be made. You must determine in your mind, come what may, whatever the situation, I will fulfill the expectation of Baba. I am deeply committed. There will be provocations, irritations and other things where I will be losing my control. But I am sure I will not be losing my control this time. 15 days is not a long period. If I can't do it for 15 days, then how can I get the governing power in golden age even for 15 months? I don't deserve it. You see, it's a big gamble, a big bargain. But just for 15 days. You observe this balance for 15 days and Baba gives you so much. You understand? Baba says, matta satta, you know those people who get the roughage and they give in return to you some utensils, some household articles, new ones of plastic, of steel, of copper, of other things. Here in India, that is what is generally done. People come to your streets and they sell their wares. They say, new lamps for the old one, for example. You get these, just give us some rags, some torn clothes which are not usable by you. So because of them they give so much. And Baba does not even expect that much. He is prepared to give us so much. I think it will be the greatest fault on us, on our part. Greatest failure. Mind you, I repeat it again, greatest failure on our part. If even within these 15 days, you see, let us swear, within these 15 days, Baba, we are going to do it, whatever happens, you see. Now that 15 days are not there, we have already lost some days, so still there are some days. They say better late than never. So even now we must make some efforts. Difficulties will come.